All right, Hair Metal Revolution. Today's show, we're talking about who our best singers are. Now, for me, just like yesterday, these are like my expectations were maybe just here and somehow they raised the bar like, wow, they're better than I thought. So that's how I'm picking my five. So it might be totally different on how Jeff's picking his five. So this is why this is so exciting for us. Why we're picking our five and giving it a little bit of an explanation. Because some of you might think we're crazy, might think I'm dumb, like what? But that Pepper is not a good singer. But I'm going to give an explanation why. Because my number five is probably going to be, I don't know if it's a shocker, but some people say he's a great singer. Some people said he's not. The person I'm talking about for my number five is Tom Kiefer of Cinderella. And I'll tell you why. Tom Kiefer has like a double voice, I always call it. He has a scratchiness and he has that soft voice. And when I went and saw the Heartbreak Station tour, I didn't think he was going to be able to sing close to the album. I really didn't. I didn't think he could do that scratchiness perfectly live and sing that soft voice. And I was wrong. When I saw Heartbreak Station, he plays that Coming Home where he does his scratchiness, his soft voice, Nobody's Fool. I was shocked on how good he could transition his voice. So he's number five for me. Jeff, I mean, I was shocked. He can do I call it a double voice. I don't know what you actually call it.
I think I'll tell you where I think that comes from. Prior to being a metal musician, Tommy Kiefer was a classically trained pianist. He grew up as a child learning to play the piano, and he is amazing at it. The first time I ever saw them in 1986, I think it was.
Night Songs.
They lowered him down onto the stage on a grand piano from in the rooftop.
That's Long Cold Winter, and I think that's 88.
Yeah, I think it might have been 88. And he was playing the grand piano as they lowered him down, and I'm listening to, not just taken up by the situation, but we were like in the third row. I'm listening to him play this thinking, this guy is not your typical musician. I mean, his ability to play classically trained piano, I think when he did that, he sang with it and wasn't trying to develop a unique metal voice. I think as he learned through that era of learning piano, he probably exercised a very melodic voice, you know?
Yes. And again, I was just shocked on how good it was. And it's still amazing to this day, people, that he had 2 surgeries on his throat. He had to relearn how to sing. Now, he's on a solo career, and I heard people saying he's still pretty good. And that's not bad for having surgery and how to relearn how to sing. So the man is amazing. But I'm curious on what's Jeff's number 5. I'm curious on what direction that he's going into on this.
So I have followed everybody on my list is somebody that 4 through 1, everybody's going to have heard of. But I picked a number 5 that I think, in my mind, didn't get the stardom and achievement, but her uniqueness of her voice and her purity of her voice is something I've never, ever heard at that level.
Man, I'm curious who it is.
She's an Australian singer. She's kind of known as this indie folk type singer. She was married to a guy named Shane Nicholson, who I know pretty well, but they got divorced. Her name is Casey Chambers.
Huh.
And the first time I heard her was when the Sopranos TV show came out on HBO. In season 1, they had a song called The Captain by Casey Chambers. And it was so unique, the voice in it. I just thought, wow, that's really interesting. Looked her up, started listening to some of her stuff. It's very bluegrass, indie folk style. But she did something a year ago that blew me away. She did a cover live of Eminem's classic song, Lose Yourself.
I got to listen to it.
And it blew everybody away. I sent you a link to it.
I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah. It's but yeah, it's just crazy. I would encourage everybody. It's been reviewed. If you put in Casey Chambers, Kasey Chambers, and you look up Eminem with it and look on YouTube, you'll see about 500 people who have reacted to this video. I have read that when Eminem was sent this video the day after she recorded this live and released it, he was weeping listening to this song.
I'm going to have to listen to it.
It is absolutely crazy, but I would encourage.
And if it's not copyright, people, you're going to hear it on here. So that is awesome.
So you guys can check that out. That's now my number 5.
Well, now we're going to number 4. Now, again, I don't know exactly what kind of genre you want to put this guy in. Southern rock. I don't know exactly what category you put this guy in, but when I went and saw the Black Crowes the first time on Shake Your Money Maker, Chris Robinson's voice, because the way he sings, like Hard to Handle, I didn't think he was going to be able to sing exactly like that live. I saw Black Crowes 3 times, and every time I see them live, his voice is wonderful. Yes, he does have some side singers with the harmonies and stuff, but he can hit the notes like he put on the album. So I was shocked on how good he was. Now, I don't know exactly what you call their music. Is it Southern rockish? Is it, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, you know, it's a band that a lot of bands that came out in that era were huge and immensely popular in the geographical areas that they came out. A lot of bands came out in Atlanta and Austin, Texas, and these areas that in their area, they were legends. And for whatever reason, they just didn't grow past it, right? And everybody kind of thought the Black Crowes was going to do that. Like, they were good, but are they going to get outside of this? But I think when you hear people that comment on them, you hear people, I saw a documentary on them where Darius Rucker, you know, who started out with Hootie and the Blowfish, and then he went country, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about them as one of his favorite bands. I mean, there are so many musicians and genres that look at the Black Crowes and say, wow, you know? They don't pigeonhole them in one genre and stick them there.
No. And what is so cool is he is so against tracks being played that he brings, he'll pay for extra musicians to get the sound that he needs on stage without pumping it in through a computer. So I respect that.
I think when they did their live at Red Rocks, when they did the Red Rocks concert out in Colorado, which is kind of the epitome of what a lot of bands will achieve live, right? We played at Red Rocks, right? I think there was something like they had 20-some musicians with them just because of the backgrounds that he brings and the soundscape that he delivers, you know?
You know what? I can't wait. I can't wait to hear your number 4 because I know you said a lot of people know these.
My number 4 is somebody that sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And when he did, I think immediately they said, holy crap, we got this wrong. This guy should be doing the halftime show. And that's Chris Stapleton.
Oh, wow.
I think iconically his voice is something that we will be talking about. I won't be alive, but they'll be talking about 50 years ago, the way we talk about Johnny Cash today. They'll be talking about Chris Stapleton. He is not your cookie cutter vocalist. He has a sound and a delivery that, well, I guess, first of all, when you look at him, he looks like he stepped off of a Harley in the desert out in Arizona somewhere. He has a beard down to the middle of his belly, right? I mean, he's a tough-looking guy. So to hear him sing so intimately about some of the things that he does is quite something. But when you listen to his new album, he has a song on it called White Horse.
I'll have to listen to it.
When you start listening to White Horse and you listen to his vocals, it's crazy. Another thing I admire about him, there's a woman on the stage, a blonde lady that plays tambourine. It's his wife, and he takes her everywhere. You will not see him step on a stage without her.
You know, Tom Kiefer's band, his wife plays with him in that band.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is cool. I'm going to have to listen. I didn't know he sang the national anthem. I guess
he did. And when he did, I don't think anybody will ever sing the national anthem as good as he did. But I can tell you right now, this guy, he is just amazing with his vocals. He has that voice that you could listen to 1,000 male country artists. Nobody's going to reproduce what he's doing. It's just that genuine. So,
well, people, my number 3, I know everybody knows this singer. Everybody knows this singer, but there's a shock factor of a singer that I'm bringing up where, okay, first of all, the singer I'm talking about is Sammy Hagar, and I'll tell you why there's a shock factor. You got to remember, before he joined Van Halen, I knew a couple of his songs, but I wasn't like Sammy Hagar, like redhead follower. I know Can't Drive 55 and stuff. So, you know, I knew who he was, but when I saw him with Van Halen, and this one song, Jeff, where I said, holy fucking shit, this guy could sing, not like David Lee Roth. When he sung the song Dreams live, he hit this high pitch up here that I'm like, not a lot of people could do that. His vocals, like, oh my God, this fucking guy could really sing. My expectations was, you know, I was going to Van Halen for Eddie. No offense. Eddie, the guitar playing, Michael Anthony, Alex, you know, Sammy's group replacement. But when he sang on stage, when people ask me nowadays, Eric, who do you choose? What era do you choose more, Sammy or David? And I'll be honest, I say Sammy because I saw them both live.
That is Sammy a huge question. It's almost like if you were going to play volleyball and we couldn't decide how to divide the teams, there's 3 ways. You say everybody who's had a DUI get on one side and everybody who hasn't get on the other. You'll be about 50-50.
Yeah.
If you say everybody who likes Eddie or everybody who likes Sammy Hagar and everybody who likes David Lee Roth, you'll be about 50-50. Same thing with AC/DC. You like Bon Scott or you like Johnson, right? It's kind of split. It's just crazy how it's like
it is.
You're either the left Twix or the right Twix on these arguments.
And the tipping point for me was they both made great music with the band during their years, but live, oh my God! When David's here, Sammy's here.
Yeah.
David cannot sing any Sammy songs, but Sammy can sing all of his songs.
Yeah.
It's just weird, but that's my number 3. I'm ready for Jeff's.
All right. Well, my number 3 is Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin.
You know what, Jeff? Real quick before you tell me why. Of course, when I was growing up in the 80s, Led Zeppelin was way past me during that time. Mm-hmm. But I did see Robert Plant on his solo career.
Yep.
With the first album with the song, I forget.
I'm in the Mood.
Yes, In the Mood. And of course, on that tour, he didn't sing those Led Zeppelin songs.
No.
He only sung his solo, but his voice, you're right. His voice was incredible.
I look at it like, okay, first of all, you have a band that is not just Robert Plant as a vocalist. Eventually, he is an amazing guitarist, but he wasn't known for that when they started and got popular, right? You've got Jimmy Page on guitar. Don't even try to compete, okay? You got John Paul Jones on bass. And you've got arguably the best drummer in history, John Bonham, playing drums, okay?
And his son is really good,
Jimmy Page, John Bonham, same band. is Robert Plant going to be able to rise above this?
Yes.
That's a challenge, right? And yet every song, whether it's Immigrant Song, Kashmir, every song, he brings an aura onto
So
that
you saw them
stage.
live? You got to see them live?
I haven't seen them live. I've watched so many of their live concerts, but I'm just saying when you see him come onto a stage and the way people react, it's not just the superstardom of, oh my gosh, it's famous Robert Plant, right? It's the sounds, it's the music, and then when he starts singing, what he brings into that room, there is an aura like you have been brought somewhere. I mean, a lot of singers just don't do that. And he did it over and over, and every song they've done, he doesn't have a bad song. And we're talking a dozen albums at least, right? I mean, where's the bad songs? The guy was awesome.
But it is weird that he will not do any Led Zeppelin songs, and of course, there's never there never was a reunion. It's like he totally said, Jimmy Page, do whatever you want. You want to remix the albums? They're yours. He did his own thing, and that was kind of weird. But
probably the closest moment I've seen with them is when the Wilson sisters from Heart, when they were inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Did a remake of their song, and they went up there and played, and they had some superstars on stage with them, and all the members of Led Zeppelin were sitting next to each other, the ones that were there, right? And Robert Plant was there, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was hugging the other guys. I mean, it felt like maybe they're going to get, maybe they will, right? Like, look at them. They hugged. Does that mean they're coming back, right? I wish they could have squeezed out the 3 farewell tours in 3 years in a row like Kiss is, you know? Why did it have to end? But yeah, that's my
was a good one. That's a good pick. 3. Now, my number 2, I'm going to be honest, I was never really a fan of him when he was with other bands, and then he went solo. I knew he was there. I heard his stuff. But one of my buddies had an extra ticket to his solo concert, and this guy's vocals blew me away live. And the guy I'm talking about is Ronnie James Dio. Oh, yeah. I was the last in line tour. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest Dio fan. I knew who he was. I know he took over Black Sabbath for a while. He was in Rainbow. And of course, his first major hit, Dio, God damn it, what's that song?
That 60s band that he was in that he started with was
Elf. He was in Elf in the 60s. And then but when I saw him live, Jeff, I'm like, oh my God, this guy can really sing. This guy is hitting every pitch there is. And it was I swear to God, it was almost like I was listening to a cassette. Back in those days, I had cassettes. CDs weren't really a thing to the 90s. And it really sounded like I was listening to the cassette. I was like, this guy could really sing. And it's cool that my wife grew up in the same town as Dio. There's a street sign. Portland, New York has Dio. I took a picture of it. Maybe I'll put it on this channel. But he sold me as a real singer because I saw him live. I had no expectations, and he raised it huge.
Did you watch the documentary on that? Did you watch the movie about him?
Yes.
What was really interesting in that movie, and it covers it very well, is the transition that I was talking about earlier of how did we get from that 50s and early 60s sound to that Led Zeppelin-y, like hard rock cracking out of the egg in the early, 68, 69, 71. And when they start covering him, I mean, they're showing him with the schoolmates. He looked like a
60s guy.
They're wearing like matching little suits in their first band.
Clean hair.
You listen to Dio when you think of Dio, right? Our reference to
Hair,
that,
the
and
dirty
think
hair.
that's how he started. It's like he stepped out of the Monkees or
Yes.
something and walked into AC/DC. It's like, how did you go from there to here? But that documentary covers that really interesting. And how many people talk about how underrated and unknown he was in the industry, but how respected he was by other artists that
Yes.
would open for them, or he'd play on stage and then they'd go on, they'd be like, we don't even want to go up there right now after this guy's played.
And I don't remember, Jeff, if it was in that documentary or somewhere else that they wouldn't let him be part of the We Are the World song.
Yeah.
So he got his own thing. And every band said that when he talks, they shut up and listen. It's like he was the leader, that he was the one guy they listened and respected, and they didn't mess around when he talks.
He had a creativity level that most people could not connect to. It was that Rain Man-ish. It was that advanced, okay? His ability to create not just the art and album covers, but the ideas and the music and the storylines and the video imaging and all it's like he was a living comic book.
Yes.
The guy was incredibly creative, and most people just couldn't connect to that. They didn't get it.
You're right. You're right, Jeff, because you're exactly what I'm saying. I was never like a Dio thing until I seen him live.
Yeah.
It's like he was never very commercial. He sang great, but he didn't have no top 10 like songs. But when you hear him live, that's when those songs became top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious. Beyond Dio, well, I'm curious what's your number 2, because we're
my
close
number
to
2. All right. My number 2 is one of my I guess I'd put him in the top 10, I think, iconic bands of all genres. And that's Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac.
Oh.
I'm going to say this.
I can see that.
She came with a unique voice. You were hearing something different than you heard from other women. The way she almost had that quick vibrato sound in her voice, but that nasally sound, it's almost like if anybody else tried to sing like her, they'd just annoy the shit out of you. But when she sang it, it was like mesmerizing, right? You listen to really early Fleetwood Mac. I sent you a copy to a link, a very early rendition. It's their demo version of Gold Dust Woman. It's not the one they released. It's the one they first recorded in the studio, kind of raw. And you listen to her sing on that, it's like she really brought something unique that went on and went on. I mean, again, you're talking about a band that you look at the talent that existed in Fleetwood Mac. It was really something, from the rhythms and the guitar work and you've got 2 females that sang, but even when she went out on her own and was doing songs like Edge of 17 and things, she brings this haunting female voice that is so powerful. And to me, I think that she's got one of those voices that within the first few notes of hearing it, you're like, Stevie Nicks.
Well, she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Fleetwood Mac and her solo career.
Yeah.
She's in twice. So that just tells you that she can really do it, because she made it twice.
Yeah. I mean, you look at other big female artists, right? I mean, let's talk about the Joan Jetts, the Pat Benatars, all these that kind of came from that era, right? They all were cool. I'm not taking away anything from them, but when you hear Stevie Nicks and you look at how many songs between Fleetwood Mac and her solo career that she put together, I mean, I can count Joan Jett's hits on one hand, okay? Stevie Nicks, we're talking about like 30 of them.
Well, and there is also another main difference between Joan Jett and Stevie Nicks. If you guys look at her set list live, the hit songs, 60% of her set list, they're all remakes.
Yeah.
Her hits are remakes. Stevie Nicks don't need remakes.
No.
She does it on her own. Now, nothing against Joan Jett, but most of her popular huge songs were remakes.
And then if you want to talk about the whole woman power thing, look, she made in Fleetwood Mac, she took her boyfriend, made him play lead guitar while she sang songs about how much of a dick he was. That's what she did. She wrote a couple songs about how horrible her relationship was while her ex-boyfriend standing there playing lead guitar. I mean, how many women have pulled that off, right?
No, you're
right. She had some balls, man. People who got in front of her and disagreed with her on things, I think there's a reason why she went solo, first of all. And when she did, you put a woman in that business in that time, in the early 80s, or mid 80s, I should say, going solo, that's not easy. There's going to be a lot of people lined up to tell you what you need to do, and she told all of them, sit your ass down. It's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive. So. But now, guys, it's time for our number one.
I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited because
I'm wondering if we have the same one.
Well, I doubt it. Trust me, I doubt it because I'm picking more of a shock factor, and I can tell you're more emotional.
I've got one that I truly think is the best vocalist ever. So
this ain't gonna be that guy.
Okay,
trust me, I know. But I'm gonna explain why. Who I'm talking about is Sebastian Bach of Skid Row, and I'll tell you why. When I went and saw Slave to the Grind tour. When Sebastian Bach on these albums, if you listen to his albums, he does some screaming. And when I hear him live, he can hit those screams. He can hit those high pitches. I mean, he literally sounded like a cassette or a CD. I mean, I know his voice now might not be the same live, but in his heyday, Sebastian Bach does not get the credit on being a great vocalist. He ruined the big. That's why he's my number one. The biggest shock factor that I have seen live, where he blew me away with his voice, is actually Sebastian Bach. I know you don't have him as number one, but that's why he's my number one.
I'm not a mile away from there. I do like Sebastian Bach. If we were to talk honorable mentions, which I think we probably should after I'll do my number one, but there's from that era and those metal bands, there's a few of them, dude, that I'm like, man, how do you not put them in your top five, right?
And that's why mine's more of I'm shocked. That's why I pick them, shocked. Yeah. But I'm curious about your number one. I'm so curious.
My number one is Klaus Meine from the Scorpions.
Oh, that little German singer, yeah.
If you listen to the song Still Loving You, them doing it live, dude, best vocal performance by anybody ever.
I totally forgot about him, dude.
That guy, when you listen to them, they're from Germany. Very thick accents. Very thick. And in fact, when they first came out and released their first cassette, their first album, Rock You Like a Hurricane, all this stuff back that was like 84, 83, somewhere in there. And when they were on MTV, they had to put subtitles under them. They're speaking English, right? Their accent is so thick that it was hard. But yet when they sang, it was normal. So pure and melodic. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of good songs that he sang.
Oh,
but you go watch.
Jeff? What tour was it? Because I saw them when they had a guitar for a stage.
I can't remember what tour that was.
That's the
I
one
just
I went
remember
to.
when Still Loving You came out and you listened to his vocals from the breathiness that he puts in it. And that's another interesting thing. Look up Scorpion Still Loving You reaction and then put vocal coach in it and search on YouTube. There's about 10 vocal coaches who that's all they do, who've never heard of the Scorpions before, that listen to that song live or they're filming themselves live as they listen to it and they're reacting to it, that are blown away at this guy's breathiness and the intimacy in his voice and the power that he projects when he starts just screaming it out. I'm still loving you. It's just crazy how good this performance is. This guy's voice, I've never heard anybody sing that good before.
I totally forgot about them, dude. I totally forgot. And they are touring again, but what they're doing so smart is he's touring where he's spacing out like the tour dates, because he did an interview with Eddie Trunk, and he was talking about how it's hard to sing every single night where high pitch you can get,
especially at their age.
Yes.
So
he spaced it out so when he goes on stage, he will hit you those notes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
If I was to talk honorable mentions, Klaus kind of brings me into some of these bands that had some ballads, when those power ballads came out and you really got to experience what I would refer to as the intimacy of some of these vocals.
I know what singer you're talking about. I don't know his name, but
Steelheart.
Steelheart.
Fly to the Angels by Slaughter.
Oh, Slaughter.
Dude, that guy's voice. Now, I'm not going to say that all their songs were great vocally, but you listen to that song, it is amazing. There are other songs also that when I think of, there's White Lion has a couple songs where their lead singer, if you listen to his vocal capability, it's like, dude, this guy is really, their guitarist was amazing.
Vito Bratta. Yeah.
Man.
Mike Tramp. Yeah. He's Danish. He's a Danish boy.
Yeah. You listen to, what album was it where the song Lights and Thunder, which is basically a gigantic guitar solo, right?
Main attraction.
It's amazing how good those guys were musically.
Yep.
But vocally, this guy had a voice that kept up with that, right? It was pretty impressive. And from those eras of bands, you can find examples of that where you're just like, wow,
Well, I seen Slaughter on the Poison tour. They opened up, then it was Slaughter, Bullet Boys, and it was Poison. And for now, when you're a first opening act, you don't get all the equipment as the main act.
No.
A lot of times you don't get that high production, but I remember Mark Slaughter was still hitting all those notes, even as an opening act. So I can see where you're coming from. I know he's not the best vocalist in the world, but I remember seeing Mr. Big for the first time, and I forget that guy's name. Like, his voice was pretty good live. I don't know his name, but
yeah.
When they did "To Be With You" on stage,
I can hear it.
He sang "To Be With You" on stage. I'm like, oh my god, it almost sounds like the album. So you're right. There's a lot of singers that don't get the credit, maybe because, like you said, the guitars are too loud or for whatever reasons. But guys, people, that is our 5. I want to know, what do you think of our 5? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And I want to know what your top 5 is. And if you like this, you like our conversation, let me know, because we could bring more to you. There's so many areas that we can touch. One-hit wonders, whatever. I think
that would be a great show. There's so many good. one-hit wonders. If you delve into them, they actually had 2 or 3 songs, but there's really only one they're ever known for, right?
We got to do a show on that one day. So people let us know if you want to see that. So beyond that, I want to thank every single one of you for being here. Welcome to Hair Metal Revolution. If you've never been here before, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I'm coming at you at every single way, because we're giving the music respect that it deserves, where most people shit on it. We're giving it the respect that it deserves. We'll tell you if they're great, if they're bad, they're not, we'll tell you exactly from the studio and how they sound live. So beyond that, I'll see you guys next time.